Hello, Super Scholars! Welcome to Read Aloud for Wednesday. So our story today is about two friends and their adventure together. So this book is called A Gift for Sophie. It's by Gillies Vigneault. I'm not quite sure how to say that name. Vigneault. And illustrated by Stephanie Dorsch. So let's get reading. Sophie was 7 years old and was as pretty as can be, with her two red braids that were always dancing on her head. She loved to draw. She would draw the house with all its windows and its big chimney on the eastern gable. She would draw her father, her mother, and her little brother also, who was only 8 months old. But she also loved to draw her great uncle Tom, who everybody called Old Man Tom. He was very, very old and didn't have a hair on his head, but a long white beard. It was easier to draw. Old Man Tom never left his home, but at least it wasn't too far a walk. Sophie would go there almost every day, and each time she would bring him a new drawing, and each time her uncle had a little present for her. The first time, it was a small book with a single tiny sentence written inside. Another time, it was a little ring or a small bracelet, an old picture of him when he was young, and 1,000 other knickknacks that had as only value the fact that they were given with love and for pleasure. He would often say of Sophie's drawings, "My sweet Sophie, there is nothing more precious you could give me." Sophie also had a friend called Emilio, who had, according to her, skin the color of caramel. Sophie liked caramel a lot. She also liked Emilio a lot. She loved to draw him because it would add color to her pictures. I forgot to add, she had a big black cat with yellow spots she called Sir, whose favorite sport was bird hunting. She could warn and threaten him all she wanted, but it was in the nature of things. Oh well. They all lived in a tiny village near a huge lake. Every morning, Emilio, whose father fished all manner of pike and perch, would go and try his luck on a beach near his house. On a beautiful April morning, Emilio came back home quite excited. He'd seen something on the beach that had shone right through the sand. It was a large piece of rather thick glass that seemed to have in it every color there ever was. The sun had a part to play in this, of course, but this large jewel seemed magic to Emilio, full of mystery, and the colors shone right through the glass to dress the walls and furniture with its light. Now that's the perfect gift for Sophie. And he left straight away to surprise her with this treasure. Sophie was delighted. They played all day with the piece of broken glass that had been the bottom of a heavy bottle. But Emilio waited until nightfall before giving it to Sophie. She put it under her pillow to sleep. The next day, quickly, she went to see Old Man Tom to show him Emilio's gift. He was quite impressed. He went on to explain the prism and told her how it broke down light, which in the eyes of Sophie made Emilio's gift even more valuable. She called it the eye. Days and months passed. Many pictures were drawn with all the colors of the eye and the sun. Autumn came, the leaves fell from the trees, and the old uncle fell sick. Emilio and Sophie's last visit, at the end of October, was filled with sadness, despite all the efforts Old Man Tom made to laugh with them and lighten the mood. In the end, he told them, "If you ever come across a problem that you need my help to solve, call upon me, even if I'm gone. I'll ask the good Lord's permission to come to your help." He died shortly after, which caused great sadness to everyone. But just as Old Man Tom would often say, it's all in the nature of things. And it is in the nature of children to go on, to forget all sadness, and to live. Winter came and went, with its snowman and its toboggans, with its skating and skiing and walks through the small woods, imagining yourself a hunter. And spring came again, with the crow telling one and all, "Caw, caw, caw." On her windowsill, Sophie kept every present that Old Man Tom had given her, but her favorite was without a doubt the eye of every color. Every morning the sun would create a new rainbow on her ceiling. Yet on a beautiful morning in April, she had a very unpleasant surprise. She couldn't see the familiar rainbow stain on her ceiling. And looking at her windowsill, she saw that Emilio's gift was gone. Yet she was certain that she'd put it right in its place the night before. What could have happened? She asked her father, and he didn't know anything about it. Yet her mother told her, "Well, last night I opened your window so that you could have some fresh air, but I can't imagine anyone." Indeed, she couldn't imagine anyone would just up and take it. It was going to be hard to break the news to Emilio. Since he would find out eventually, Sophie decided to tell him everything and enlist his help. Of course, Emilio was disappointed, but excited nonetheless by the opportunity. After all, he could finally act like the detective he knew himself to be and show his sleuthing skills. So they started to think, could it have been Sir? But what would a cat do with a piece of glass? Let's go see. Sir was quite surprised that anyone would accuse him of anything. He'd been in his basket all night, after all, sleeping tight. They'd reached this point in their investigation when Emiliano suddenly remembered, what if we asked Old Man Tom? He didn't dare finish his sentence. Old Man Tom died, Sophie said soberly. But he told us that if ever it's true that he'd help us, or that he'd ask permission to help us. Trying can't hurt. Things can't get worse. Okay, let's try it. But how do we do it? Well, I guess it's like praying. We don't say a word, close our eyes, and ask Old Man Tom to help us find the eye. And so, in the middle of the day, near a big maple tree that was starting to show its leaves, Sophie and Emilio closed their eyes and asked the old man, or perhaps his soul, to keep his promise. After a few long minutes of silence, a silence loaded with memories, Emilio said, "Okay, we've asked him. Now we have to wait." They waited until nightfall. Nothing came to them. Well, we will see tomorrow. And maybe Old Man Tom is quite far away now. Where? God only knows. And so they fell asleep with that on their minds. The next morning, very early, Sophie asked Emilio to come and see her as quickly as possible. Without wasting a moment, he rushed to Sophie's house. "So any news?" "Yes, I dreamt that Sir spoke to me." "A cat that talks?" "Yes, he was talking in my dream. I was accusing him of having sold my beautiful eye, and he was saying, 'Me, Miss Sophie, I'm only interested in birds, and I never steal from anyone, not me. Speaking of birds, why don't you go ask the crow about your pretty piece of glass? Who knows? Maybe we'll have heard something. Now go on before you start accusing the first animal to cross your path." And then the cat just walked off, laughing. "I got it," Emilio said. "I got it. One day, Old Man Tom told me that crows love anything that shines. Let's go examine its nest at the top of the maple tree. And so they went. But the crow answered sharply to this invasion of its home. Emilio quickly climbed down the tree, apologetic. It would have blinded me. Sophie then had an idea. They went to ask Sir if he could mount an assault on the bird's nest. Sir seemed indifferent at first, but eventually relented and followed them. When he got to the bottom of the tree and saw the crow, his hunter instincts kicked in and he rushed up the tree as quick as can be. The crow immediately flew off, caw-cawing furiously. The cat pawed the nest of the tree as Emiliano and Sophie saw 3 golden buttons, 1 earring that Mom thought she'd lost in the garden, and the eye. They had a big party and even Sir was invited. A bowl of milk was poured in his honor, which he was happy to accept. The crow left and found itself a new home. Sophie's father built her a small jewelry box in which she put Emiliano's precious gifts every night before going to bed. And one night, as she was thinking of Old Man Tom, she opened the first present he'd given to her, the tiny book with its tiny phrase. And written in the tiniest of handwriting, even in the most humble present, we must see all the treasures of the heart. The end. That is the end of our story, A Gift for Sophie. Sophie and Emiliano were able to find the eye after all with old Uncle Tom's help. I hope you enjoyed that story and the beautiful illustrations. I thought the pictures were so beautiful. So let's stretch it out, move that body so we can get back to work.